Oh, Bliet. Sorry, I'm in a comment war. I can't help myself. Donut Media released that video about the LLV, and of course they got a bunch of shit wrong about the Iron Duke engine, and so that kind of set me off. Because no one ever gets anything right about that engine, but I mean, this one was pretty glaring. He said things like it was an overhead cam engine, which that's objectively wrong. Like, it's simple shit. He said it was an overhead cam engine. It's not. It's cam and block overhead valve. He said it was iron. They made the iron block iron so that they could, you know, crank up the power because it's nice and sturdy, which is also not true. They made it iron because it's durable. The engine really can't handle more power than it's already making. I mean, and this isn't like hard to reach, hard to access information. This is go on the Wikipedia page and read for 5 fucking minutes information, you know, as in go on the Wikipedia page and read this article before you write up a script and release a video to your 4.6 million subscribers spreading misinformation. And it just pisses me off because I see this kind of stuff in the edutainment sector of YouTube all the fucking time. And they just get away with it because it's, oh, this is meant to be entertaining. It's like, whatever. Yes, but it's also meant to be educational. And while it doesn't have to, you know, exactly be the most cerebral, like, master's degree level stuff, the facts that they are presenting need to be fucking correct. And that just frustrates me. So, yeah, that's my little rant on that. Anyway, let's get back to what we're here to do. Fix my car. I'm going to take a look at your automation cars, give you advice on how to make them better and make some improvements and changes, etc. You guys know the drill by now. This isn't the first time I've done this. I'm going to be flying solo tonight, or this afternoon, depending on where you are. T-Bird isn't here. He will be here Friday night, though, so we will be doing this together Friday night. What's the possibility he said overhead cam by mistake and that made it to the final cut? I'm thinking that's what happened, but still, like, your video is going out to 4.6 million people. Like, are they not putting in the effort to, like, proofread this? I mean, that's a pretty glaring thing. Like, nobody noticed that? It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm not going to spend all my time here ranting. Let's take a look at the first car. So, I will drop this in my automation folder. Should email him. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I mean, again, I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna get ignored. Like, I'm pretty sure the comment's gonna get ignored, so. Alright, I've already ranted about this too much. Now I gotta fucking explain myself. So, let me bring up the video. This should take 10 minutes, and then I'll get to the proper stream. So bear with me on this one. Let me bring up my display cap here. So Donut Media recently released a video about the Grumman LLV, which is you'll probably see it come into frame here. It's this mail truck. All right, have you ever seen one of these mail trucks before? They're fucking everywhere. Long story short, it's about the fact that this mail truck has been in service since 1986 and has not been replaced. And they're getting really old, and they're all breaking, and there's a particular flaw where the wiper fluid eventually, the reservoir starts to break down, and the fluid can drip onto some electronics and start a fire. Which, yeah, that's pretty bad, but, you know, that's kind of what happens when you have vehicles in service for 34 years straight, you know? But, so it's just...
truck is one of the most recognizable vehicles on the road. They're iconic.
Yeah, but, you know, it's about that. I've seen stuff about this before. They're not the first ones to cover this. But my issue is mostly with the section about the engine, the Iron Duke. For those of you not familiar, this is a 2.5-liter overhead valve, cam and block, all-iron inline-4 that GM made from 77 to 93. Might be 92. I might not have the exact years on that, but they get a number of things wrong about it that kind of ticks me off.
This engine was already 9 years old. Let me tell you.
So that's the first thing. So this truck went into service in 86, and he says, well, the engine was already 9 years old when it went into it. It was already obsolete. No, the original engine was released in 77. But the version that went into these trucks was the Tech 4, and that was a version from 82. The original engine had reverse flow heads, it had a carburetor, it had a number of things different with it. By the time they got to the 82 Tech 4 version, which was kind of the version that GM standardized on and would continue to produce for another 10 years, they completely changed the heads. They changed them to cross flow heads. It had throttle body fuel injection, and a number of other small improvements made. So it's more accurate to say that the engine that went into this truck was 4 years old, which makes a lot of sense. When you're trying to make a fleet vehicle, you pick an engine that has been made already for a few years and has already established itself as a reliable, easy to maintain power plant. That's pretty standard issue for fleet vehicles. But yeah, so that right off the bat.
LLV hit the streets in 1986. This engine was already 9 years old.
Yeah, no.
Let me tell you, didn't have a great reputation.
And of course, he brings up all these like articles from all over the internet. You know, like here we go, 2005. It's GM's worst engine ever on the one on the top too. Like this engine is particularly popular for quote unquote automotive journalists and YouTubers who want to get a few quick clicks, beating up on an engine that no one's going to defend. It's pretty frustrating because a lot of once you really understand like the context around this engine, you begin to understand that it really wasn't that bad. If anything, it was perfectly fine. It was in a lot of really crappy situations, like the Fiero, which really wasn't the design of the engine that was causing them to catch fire. It was a lot of things they changed. But that's another aside.
The Iron Duke was GM's overhead cam inline 4.
There you go, overhead cam. It's not. It's cam and block overhead valve. And I somebody was getting semantic with me in the comments section. Well, technically overhead cam does mean overhead valve because the valves are overhead. Yes, but when someone says overhead valve, 99.9% of the time they're referring to cam and block overhead valve. So The only time anyone brings that up is when they're trying to be semantic and, well, actually. So yeah, that's wrong. This is overhead valve cam and block.
Of the late 70s, named for its cast iron block. In the 80s and 90s, GM put this engine in everything. It was in the Camaro, Pontiac Grand Am.
I guess it's not true to say they put it in everything in the 90s. By the early 90s, they were definitely phasing this thing out. As a matter of fact, they stopped making this in 93. They may have continued to make it a couple years for the LLV, I'm not sure. But as far as their passenger vehicles, it was out by 93. But it was everywhere in the 80s. But they were phasing it out in the early 90s. I wouldn't say it's accurate to say it was everywhere in the 90s, because it kind of wasn't.
And the car you probably think of when you hear the name Iron Duke, the Fiero GT. Look, it didn't make a lot of power, but the cast iron construction gave it a high ceiling in case you wanted to give it a little
I'll
more power.
use my credit card.
I don't know why, but I would love to shove a Sheetz burrito up an automotive journalist's ass.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. Let me... Nice one. Thank you for the 2 months. And thank you for that comment. That was entertaining. Let me get back to what he said here, because he said something.
You probably think of when you hear the name Iron Duke, the Fiero GT. Look, it didn't make a lot of power, but the cast iron construction gave it a high ceiling in case you wanted to give it a little more power.
Like that, even when you're just listening to it, doesn't make sense. He says it didn't make a lot of power, but the cast iron construction gave it a high ceiling in case you wanted to give it a little more power. Okay, so why didn't they? Well, here's the thing. It wasn't designed to make much more power than it already did. I don't want to say it was under-engineered, but Pontiac, when they designed this engine in 1977, they knew it wasn't going to make a lot of power, so they're like, let's not make this like a giant V8. Let's use less material so it's lighter, it's less expensive to make, and it's, you know, obviously a lighter engine is going to be more fuel efficient since it doesn't have to carry its own weight so much. So I've read things on forums everywhere about like how much power the conrods can take and the cranks and the I think I recall reading somewhere that like 200 is like the absolute ceiling for these engines. But the fact of the matter was they didn't design them to be more sturdy for more power. They designed it to be more sturdy because the previous engine, the GM 2300, had a tendency to overheat and warp. It was an aluminum engine. So when Pontiac designed this engine, they're like, no, let's make it basic. Let's make it sturdy. Let's not, do anything adventurous like an aluminum engine with silicon in the cylinder walls so that we don't have to use, iron inserts for the cylinders. Let's just make a basic, by-the-books engine so that we know it's going to be reliable and sturdy.
Baby. Coming out of the oil crisis of the 80s, the Duke was lauded for its durability, emission standards.
I wouldn't say oil crisis of the 80s. I think that's something I just noticed. He said oil crisis of the 80s. The oil crisis was in the 70s.
In case you wanted to give it a little more power, baby. Coming out of the oil crisis of the 80s, the Duke was lauded for its durability, emission standards, and fuel efficiency, which is why they put it in the LLV.
Yes, that is correct.
But at 3,000 pounds with an extra 1,000 pounds in donut fan mail, the LLV only averaged 9 miles per gallon. It was 9 years outdated at the beginning of the...
Again, that's not true. This is the version from 1982, and yes, granted, an overhead valve throttle body injected engine was not exactly cutting-edge technology in 1986, but then again, this is just 1986. I mean, common use of fuel injection had just started in the early 80s, so if anything, this engine by 86 was about average, maybe a little behind the curve, but then again, throttle body injection went on well into the early 90s, all those old Civic hatches that everyone gushes over had throttle body injection, and nobody gives them shit for, being out of date, because it's a Honda, and I love my Hondas,
The LLV run. Add 30 to that, and you've got an engine old enough to have listened to the Postal Service in college, which is not really a joke I get because I never listened to them. What? Nowadays...
You're a car expert now? I'm not, though. Like, this is... almost everything I've told you is you can find it on the Wikipedia page. Like, again, like I said earlier, this is not inaccessible information. This is the kind of stuff where you go on the Wikipedia page, you read the Wikipedia article for the Iron Duke for like 5 minutes, and then you make your video that goes out to 4 million people before you start, you know, spreading this misinformation.
More than ever, Grumman is extremely expensive and difficult to maintain. There are about 140,000 active LLVs, which account for about 70.
Anyway, I think that's the end of my gripes. So I just wanted to explain that because it's frustrating. It's frustrating when a channel with like 10 times as many viewers as I have goes up there and makes this video, you know, that's supposed to be educational, at least a little educational, and they can't even bother reading a fucking Wikipedia page to make sure it's correct. Like, come on. Like I said, this kind of thing is very common in the edutainment sector of YouTube. You know, it's more about releasing regular content and being entertaining than it is about being accurate. And, you know, whenever they get called out on it, they just throw their hands up and go, it's edutainment, it's supposed to be entertaining, we all make mistakes, big deal. Misinformation is great for views. Yeah, I mean, in that case, I don't think it's entirely malicious. Like, if they made a video like, the worst engine ever, the Iron Duke, and they were spreading that kind of misinformation, then yeah, that would seem kind of malicious, but that case seems more just complacency. They didn't do their due research, and so they just went with either assumptions or, you know, did it based on information they had heard from other people or something. But yeah, anyway, let's get back to why I'm actually here. Let's look at some cars, and we've already got a problem here. So this is the Blanco Ito Mark IV IRX Biturbo. Don't know if I pronounced all that correctly. It's not. I'm having some issues with. Did it just not import at all? Hold on. Import without mod fixtures. Okay. Is it here? Ah, there it is. Right, so this belongs to Dr. Portal, and he says, late 90s hot hatch, it needs some reworked styling to feel more 1998 than 2004, and possibly performance improvements. As it stands right now, the engine is meant to be a VR6 type engine, but due to restraints in the game, I've settled for 60-degree V6. Horsepower might be way too high for a late 90s car. Might be worth taking a look at. Opinion on Lada Vesta. I have no idea what that is. 2200cc V60. Okay, so it's certainly been styled quite a lot. Maybe a bit too aggressive. I don't know. This would be but I do like the amount of detail that's gone into this. The only thing I would think of is, and he seems to allude to this in the description, is needs to feel more 1998 than 2004. Yeah, the early 2000s, as far as styling goes, were pretty pretty subdued. They... Remember, this is coming off of the 90s, and the 90s, the big thing was round, bubbled, no sharp edges anywhere. And then the 2000s kind of took that and just hit it with a boring hammer. Like, I don't really know any better way to describe it. The 2000s were, in my opinion, kind of a low point for styling. And I can see he's already tried to put in some interior piece. Maybe that's the trim pieces that didn't import were interior pieces. Honestly, I don't even bother with interiors in this game. It's just far too tedious for me. Move all the trim pieces here. Twin throttle bodies, multi-point fuel injection, turbocharged. Okay, so he said it's supposed to be along the lines of a VR6. So let's look up some VR6s. Those are Celica Super wheels you just put, by the way. Yeah, these are out of date. These are definitely, like, late 80s wheels right here. There's no interior pieces. I had to use bumper bars on my... Yeah, I really don't even bother with the interior. It's just, it's too much for me. A bunch of fixtures didn't load. The interior was actually really detailed. It's missing the main grille. Okay, yeah, because I don't have any mods installed, so I think I noted that in my, my submission guidelines for the Discord, but I can't remember. So in that case, I'm not going to touch the styling, because it's already kind of fucked because of that. But what I will say is, like I said, it's a little overcomplicated. You know, this is early 2000s. It's very simple. All right. So, early 2000s, like late 90s cars had a very what's the word I'm looking for? Minimalistic type of style to them. You know. But by the time they had gotten to this point, they had really integrated like crash bumpers into the design, so they weren't sticking out. You know, that sort of space age sheen that the Taurus had ushered in the early 90s was kind of rounded out, and you know, it wasn't quite as extreme. Dr. Portal, thank you for the tip. But yeah, that's, I don't think you specified the mods. The main things I wanted to help with were the rear fascia as well as the rims and maybe some performance tweaks. The idea for the company. That's, alright, so I mean, what I always do when I don't know, like, what should something from this era have? I'll just go and I'll look at other cars from the era. You just look at pictures. So, like, what were Golf GTIs from the early 2000s, for instance, rocking on their wheels? So that would be the, we'll say 4th generation. And even if you just go to like the Wikipedia page, you know, you'll find pictures of it and just like what kind of wheels did they use, and you can get a good idea. You know, you can look up several different cars from the era and see what, you know, what kind of styles were common then. I don't know if these are... I'm looking at different versions here. Just trying to make sure I'm not getting any with like aftermarket rims. Okay, so what I'm seeing is a lot of, like, spokes. So something like, and they weren't colored either. They were just, like, regular brushed, like, aluminum or steel color. So something, something like this would probably be accurate. So, Let's just go and... yeah, we'll just color the whole thing. You know, just something like that. Something real simple, you know? The other kind of style of wheel I was seeing on these was something, I guess not quite like this, but, you know, the idea of, like, the 10-spoke wheel like that. I think this is a little bit of a later design than early 2000s, but it's similar, you know. Or maybe even something like this, but I think, to go back to the what I had there originally, I think this would probably be the most fitting, you know. What I was going to say was that this company is meant to be an Italian equivalent to Subaru, and that they stuck with an odd engine type long enough to get good at it, except instead of boxer engines, they made VR6 style narrow angle V6s. That is interesting. One thing you have to understand with Subaru is they have a very specific reason why they're making boxers. And I was talking about this in the Discord the other day. It was basically all for all-wheel drive, because before, like, the mid-90s, all-wheel drive systems, and still after the mid-90s to an extent, all-wheel drive systems are big, they're bulky, it's very difficult to fit them in an engine bay without moving the engine into some bizarre, you know, out-of-the-way place that completely fucks up the weight distribution or makes the car much bigger than it needs to be. Long story short, Subaru did boxers so that they could mount their engines longitudinally in front of the front axle without upsetting weight balance too much. And that allowed them to put, like, all their all-wheel drive system, like, right here, and they could still have a small, you know, a nice small engine that wasn't upsetting the weight balance too much, but wasn't making the car too big, you know. It was basically, like I said, it was basically a compromise so that they could build all-wheel drive and vehicles. And that's why, you know, they did that, and why they stuck with it for so long was because, you know, once the crossover craze took off, well, all-wheel drive vehicles are the hot shit, might as well keep doing it the way they've been doing it. Also forgot to mention, all-wheel drive is a big thing with this company, too. They wanted to fit both 6 cylinders and all-wheel drive into a car the size of a compact hot hatch, hence the narrow angle. Well, one of the issues you run into with that is, again, because all-wheel drive systems are so big and bulky, this layout might not be ideal for that. You know, something like this, I don't know when they, you know, were supposed to have jumped on the whole all-wheel drive train, but doing something like this in the 80s to fit an all-wheel drive system wouldn't really make a lot of sense. I guess the two biggest names to bring up with that are Subaru, like I've already mentioned, and Audi, which Audi were doing all-wheel drive systems with longitudinally mounted, like, 5 cylinders and things like that. But the thing about Audi is the engine is so far forward that those things plow like a motherfucker. There is so much weight up front. And that's, you know, that's how much of a problem it was fitting an all-wheel drive system in, that companies were willing to do things like that in order to fit an all-wheel drive system in their car and still have a reasonably powerful car, you know, have a reasonably decent power-to-weight ratio. There were some cars, like transverse front-engine, front-wheel drive cars that had all-wheel drive systems fitted to them in the 80s. You'll see, like, I think there were a few Honda wagons, a few Toyota and Nissan wagons that did it, but they were typically very small cars with very small engines, and they were kind of underpowered. And just because of the way where the technology was at the time, it didn't really scale up to a size where it was practical and popular and inexpensive enough for people for it to really take off until the mid-90s. So could a company theoretically build an engine like this for all-wheel drive systems? I guess. I guess a VR configuration would be kind of good for that in the sense that it's very spatially efficient. I guess you could make the case. But it's I don't know. It is kind of weird. But you know, it's yeah, I really wish there was more options for engines like real narrow angle V's and stuff like that. I mean, the big thing that gets me in this game is lack of two-cylinder engines. No V-twins, no inline twins, no flat twins. You know, that's actually a pretty big portion of engines, especially in like old French cars, you know, in like the 50s and 60s, like old Panhards, K cars, things like that. It's a 3-image imager post that what the car looks like with all the fixtures. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, just general rule of thumbs here. There's just a little too much going on. I think I saw you post this in the Discord earlier. There's just a little too much going on with the trim. All I would say is just simplify it, you know? Again, early 2000s was very minimalistic, very simple. You know, it was, there wasn't a whole lot going on with styling from the era. I mean, let's, for instance, bring up this picture of a Golf GTI. Like, this is a Golf GTI. I don't know if this is entirely stock, but, like, even something like, look at this. There's not a whole lot. There's no, like, crazy vents or anything on the sides, you know. Everything is body colored. There isn't, like, all this, like, black trim and stuff, you know, to make it... It's just very simple, very minimalistic. You know, you've kind of got, like bump guards around here, and you've got a little added extra, like chin spoiler kind of down here, and a little side skirt down here compared to the original, like, the basic version of the Golf. But, like... And I don't know if these are aftermarket or not. These may actually be aftermarket. I don't know the Mark IV Golf off the top of my head, but this is pretty much on par for the era's styling. Yeah, I unfortunately I can't really do that in specific because the trim pieces are kind of all gone, and I don't want to have to make you make your interior again. But you know, it's like, for instance, I'd take these vents off, take these vents off. I'd probably switch like these strips to like body color.
Have $2 Russian.
Sad.
Hopefully I can catch you next time, better yet if it's on weekend so I don't have to wake up next morning.
I will be streaming Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I don't know if that's a better time for you. But yeah, I would just like, you know, just like get rid of these. Or maybe replace them with something a little more simple, something that doesn't stand out so much. You know, the handles would probably just be body colored. You know, something like this would probably just be body colored. Probably wouldn't have, like, this vent action going on here. Again, most of this would probably just be body colored, you know. I like to rag on the early 2000s a lot, and I'm gonna be blunt, it's probably not it's one of my least favorite times when it comes to automotive styling. I really don't like the early 2000s because of this ultra, like, minimalistic aesthetic that they were pushing. So yeah, I kind of like the shape of these taillights here, but I don't know if you'd have, like, the blacked out part in the grill here. I think maybe this would just, like, all be red or something like that. I'm not sure which red in specific you used here. I think it's one of these down here, maybe. Yeah, like this one. And again, like the outside of this would probably be like body cut. You know, it's like I said, it's styling from this time was just not a lot of flair to it. Are these part of the thing? So this, how can I simplify this? Probably just use this version of it right here, and probably again just make it all like body colored. Like that was another big thing from this era, was just everything was body colored, because in the 80s and early 90s, you know, bits of trim and stuff from, are these both the, I might, this trim might be a little fucked up actually. Why is it sticking out so much? Is this particular version, I'm not familiar with this piece of trim. I don't use it a lot. Why is it doing that? Okay, something like that's a lot more subdued. So it would probably look like, it wouldn't have the grading and everything. It would probably just look like that. There probably wouldn't be like these here. Sometimes trim doesn't wrap around. Oh, you don't have to remind me of that. I am well aware of that. I am well aware of trim's inability in this game to wrap around. That is something I am all too familiar with. Probably wouldn't have super complicated exhaust tips like this. Probably would still just kind of have exhaust, you know, just regular ass exhaust tips hanging out underneath the car here. Maybe a little smaller. Maybe something like that. Not sticking out quite so much, you know.
Hey bro, I prob won't be able to stream tonight, I'm slammed at work.
You're slammed. Guys, T-Bird's getting slammed. Smiley face. Alright, thanks for the 20 bucks, bro. But yeah, it's overall just, you know, little things like simplifying like that. You know, I'll leave the vents on here because race car, smiley face. I do like the amount of detail that has gone into this. Like, all too often I see people just kind of, you know, they'll throw like 5 pieces of trim on their car and call it a day, which is, you know, obviously frustrating. So I do like the fact that you're putting this much effort into your trim.
Feel free to go all out. The interior can easily be remade. Also, you can always click the other trims to see what color red/light was, lol. But also the idea was that I figured the car already looked too early 2000s and it's supposed to be late 90s.
Yeah, like, what you had was more like 2010s, because that's when you started seeing like all these different like indents and slashes and stuff show up on body designs to make them stand out. You know, so that's you had more of like a 2010s kind of design, because that was how they tried to make cars stand out. Now, I don't know exactly what motif you're going for up front here. I can't, you know, I don't know if you'd want this kind of grille or if you'd want something angular, but again, it would probably just have something rather simple like this. So let's do something. I'm just gonna throw something in here as like a placeholder. I absolutely recommend that you replace this at some point. But it's just to show you like what kind of, you know, what kind of grille you would expect on a vehicle of this era. So, you know, just something very, again, you're gonna hear me repeat the same words a lot. Basic, simple, minimalistic. You know, something kind of like that. Also, we'd probably have, probably wouldn't have the floating, mirrors here. We'd probably have something a little blockier and more substantial. Something kind of like, this, maybe. Yeah, something kind of like that. Maybe you could color it black to match the trim and get, again, that's your choice, not mine, but you know, even this style of trim on the door. What the hell is this? Oh, is that you covering up the seams there from this? Ah, I see. So even like this style of trim on the doors, I would probably... Well, first of all, this indicator doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. This would be on the front fender somewhere. So, like, something more along the lines of like this. Like, just, you know, chilling on the bumper here. Maybe a little bigger. I don't know if anyone would ever even see that. That's, why is it red? It's an indicator. It's orange. Turning signal. Go ahead and recolor
I'll
that
use
one.
my credit card.
Hello.
Hello. Venom, thank you for the 11 months. Sometimes this game is really fucking annoying and doesn't let me select it on one side. So, I don't know where you'd want this exactly. Sorry, texted. Right, so where do I want to put... I mean... I'm not really sure where I want to put this. I know some people would, like, put them on the arches here. Some people put them, like, right up on the bumper here. Technically, this is superfluous, because you've kind of got the wraparound indicators here. So I don't think you really need it. This is one of those legal things. Like, I don't know if you, like, needed something like this in America legally. So, yeah. But, technically, I don't think you need it because you have, you know, the wraparound indicators here. I'll just throw them up there for now. What I would do for these trim pieces is I wouldn't use this one. Also, I'm not really sure what's up with the logo down there. That's not really a place you typically see, see logos. I'm not really following you on that one. But I would probably use something more along the lines of, say, actually in bumper bars. It's the most useful piece of trim in the game. If I can find it. This guy right here. The generic, chrome strip here, because you can take this and you can recolor it and you can do all sorts of crazy things with it. It's these generic pieces that are the most useful in the game. So, like, I can recolor it so it's body colored, then I can stretch it out like this so that it covers the whole door. I'm actually going to do a cardinal lock on there so it shades it correctly. An ongoing glitch in this game that has not been fixed. And then I could do something like, if I wanted to round the edges out, I could change it to this end piece. And then move this down here. Scale it back down. Eventually, the game will cooperate with me. Please. Thank you. Yeah, something like this. But, you know, like, real simple, like, bump stripping like this, you know. Again, Putting the logo down the lower belt is something I've done with this company across all cars. It's just a little styling quirk. It's meant to be the same with some cars. Show the trim name on the doors below the side mirror. Okay. Well, you can place that back there if you want. I just kind of deleted it to get it out of the way so I can do all this. And, you know, this isn't perfectly aligned, but what are you gonna do? Oh, please don't. Oh, this isn't mirroring. God damn it. Of course it isn't. Let's fix that real quick. And, you know, you could make this go around the whole car, or you could just make it run down the sides. But I think something like this is a little more accurate to the time period. Again, it's more simple. It's about, you know, smooth edges. It's about not, you know, not being no like real extreme polarizing features that you would see on cars from earlier eras. Oh, that wasn't mirrored for some reason. Odd. We can keep the spoiler lip there, I guess. Doesn't really matter. Which piece am I looking for here? Oh boy. Whoa, that's laggy. Yes, that's something I've noticed with the current build of automation is when you get in nice and intimate there, it really starts to fucking lag. Like it goes to fucking town, dude. Why does this not appear to be changing at all? It's staying black no matter. Oh, because it's like 3 pieces. Is there another? Oh, is there another piece of? Oh, there's another tail light in. Oh, interesting. Well, then what's this? Why is this still black? What? I'm not even entirely sure what parts of it I'm coloring at this point. Like, automation, ladies and gentlemen. There's 3 of them. I mean, yeah, taillights from this era probably wouldn't even be, like, split up this much. It'd probably just be one kind of big thing. But, yeah, overall, that's the idea, you know? A lot of body-colored trim. Nothing too out there. Like, even this would probably be a little less deep. You kind of have, like, a faux sort of look to it. Yeah, something like that, more like. You know, there's not a lot to, like, break up the clean look of this, is the idea. Like, there may be some indents here and there, but it's gonna have a shape, and it's gonna stick to that shape, more or less, throughout the whole car. You know? Let's add some more of that, those strips to the back here. Like, let's do just one running across the back here. Oh, it's not. I need to reset the rotation. Where is that button? I'm gonna have to fucking align it. So let's just do this. Shift and drag, ladies and gentlemen, most useful tool in this game. If you want to align stuff easily and copy stuff easily, shift and drag, your best friend. Because let's be honest, if you're here watching this, you don't have any other friends, smiley face. There's one that makes up the main red bit, one that makes the orange turn signal, one to make the black rim around them. Okay, well, you know this section of the car better than I do, but hopefully you see where I'm going with this, you know, as far as, like, keeping things simple and not really having, you know, any features that are a little too, like, stand out. You know, everything from this era was, like, ultra streamlined, ultra smooth, etc. Getting real Civic vibes from the headlights. I mean, yeah, if you're getting, like, late 90s Civic vibes from the headlights, then that's, you know, that's what you're supposed to be getting. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's the be-all, end-all, but hopefully that'll set you
my credit card.
in the right direction as far as styling this car. Praying Manus, thank you for the 52 months, you psychopath. I mean, hi. Whoops, how do I... Okay. Right, so I'm seeing some shit here with this engine. So this... Alright, this is gonna have to be changed, I think. Let me look at what you got underneath the carbon fiber. That's not what it's supposed to be, right? That's definitely wrong. That definitely got fucked up in the conversion. You definitely didn't make this car carbon fiber, did you? I've had this issue. I think it's because I'm on the open beta and he isn't. Maybe I should stop using the open beta, but the problem is then you kind of get left in the dark for features for a while they take 8 years to, you know, add the features and nail down all the millions of bugs with them. I'm waiting to get word from him here. I don't know if he's still in chat. I think he is. Dr. Portal, if you're still here, I need to know what this car is supposed to be made out of. I know it's not supposed to be made out of carbon fiber. I'm guessing, probably just like either like treated steel or partial aluminum. I would have to guess. Those are probably the two correct answers here. Automation devs, monkey hammer. Yeah. Kinda. What's this post-rock band? I don't know about post-rock. They're called Pilot Voyager, and this album is called Nuclear Candy Bar. Or it might be an EP. I don't know. It's long enough to be an album.
1. No, I definitely did not make it carbon fiber. Though I was on the open beta, anyway the engine was by far the part of the car I was least sure about. I really know very little about late 90s performance tuning.
Alright, so let me, I'm also guessing, do you have a, like, super complicated multi-link system back here? Is that supposed to be like that, or is this supposed to be something different, like, wishbones, or even, like, torsion beams or something? Because a multi-link system seems awfully expensive and complicated for something like this. Yeah, kinda. It was supposed to be the company's wacky experimental phase. Okay. I mean, I don't know why a company would be getting wacky and experimental with this kind of thing in the late 90s, early 2000s, because by the time this came out, the formula for a hot hatch was pretty well established by now, and extremely complicated rear suspensions wasn't really part of that formula. I know things like, I think the Civics from the early 90s had like wishbones in the back. I would strongly recommend just doing wishbones. I think that would make a lot more sense. Isn't Volkswagen getting like that around the same time? I don't think so. I mean, as far as I know, the Mark IV Golf was fairly run-of-the-mill. There's something here about the R32 Golf having an independent rear suspension, which to me suggests that they don't normally have an independent rear suspension. McPherson multi-link combo was pretty popular by the late 90s. I would... Now, one of the things you have to understand from this game, too, is that, like, there isn't a lot of nuance with a lot of these selections. Like, the multi-link system they have here is pretty convoluted, whereas the multi-link system, I'd imagine, that was being used by cars from this era would be a lot more simple, a lot closer to what a McPherson or double wishbone system is in this game. And I guess that kind of depends on, you know, your interpretation of it. VR6 Golf R and Civic Type R. All right, well, I'll hold on to it. I would think, like I said, I would think something like a wishbone setup would make a little more sense here, but I guess that's fine too. Now this engine, there's I think there's some work that needs to be done here, because this is okay, let's look at the absolute most powerful engine that was in a Mark IV
Farewell,
Golf.
piss doggo, I won't miss you. My new ice doggo icon looks fresh AF. Okay,
Nice.
I have some characters left here. When you drive a Russian car, remember to put it in H some more words. You want a cookie? I have chocolate chips or raisin.
Put it in H. What country is this car from? It no longer exists. Automation can't even make an Audi/Subaru style all-wheel drive. Yeah, it's... yeah. But yeah, I think we could probably tune this engine down a bit. But let's look at the absolute most powerful engine that was in the Mark IV Golf as a frame of reference. So that would probably be a VR6. I mean, they stuck a pretty large 3.2-liter VR6 in this bad boy, and that was making 237 horsepower. So yeah, maybe a little. Maybe we're overachieving a little bit here. Especially if we're getting more horsepower out of a smaller displacement engine. VR6 from that Golf is exactly the right reference. Well, one thing you need to consider is that's a 3.2-liter, the big one, and this is a 2.2. There were also 2.8s. It was mostly 2.8s VR6s in the Golf, and then there was this one 3.2, which was like the super, you know, balls to the wall, you know, ultra performance version for the R32. So we're just gonna tone this down a bit. We got ourselves quite an engine here. All aluminum, dual overhead cams. For something this small and for something this modern, all aluminum, I guess makes sense. But we're definitely gonna tone down the performance a little bit, because this is massive overkill right here. Also, the turbos don't spool up until 5,200 RPMs. That is a big drivability issue. And this doesn't really need to rev all the way out to 8,000, I don't think. I mean, yes, it is a small displacement V6, but, you know, this isn't like... This isn't a Honda engine. It doesn't need to be quite this high-strung. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to switch to a single throttle body. Like, literally no performance difference, and it makes the car much less expensive and complicated. So that's just altogether good. We can keep it on 93 since this is, again, supposed to be the super duper premium version. I'll switch this to a straight through. Matter of fact, a performance car like this would probably have double. We could probably have something like this, double straight through. Like, yeah, it's going to be kind of loud, but, you know, I think if this is like the real, you know, the real deal performance version, I think you kind of want it to be loud. You know? Like, this isn't a commuter car. You want this, you want people to hear this thing.
I'll use my credit card.
2 years of my life and money wasted, thanks.
That's what I do. I waste your money. I'm gonna tone down the compression here because typically, you can just set that super low if you have turbos. Again, when you have turbos, let the turbos make the compression. You don't need to, it's better to do that than to have your base compression be super high and then you can't build boost. I've only seen like one R32 Golf and the dude lives in my mother's neighborhood. It's cool. Alright. Originally had a 3.6 liter V6 in this car, which made around the same horsepower as the 2.2 you're looking at. Now, I downsized because I didn't realize it was more accurate than I had realized. Well, I mean, again, if your company's big thing is making all-wheel drive systems, a smaller displacement engine, like a smaller size, smaller displacement engine, would probably make a good deal of sense here. So, you know, this makes making this much power though, I think is a little overkill. Like, I think we're just gonna turn this boost down significantly. Let's start with 15 here. I don't know if the game's updating. Yeah, once you throw turbos into the mix here, this game takes a while. Turbo can be much smaller too. Also, because you're in a V6 configuration here, you are constrained to a twin turbo system, which kind of sucks. Because for most applications, that's just way overkill, and you have to have tiny turbos for it to make sense. I really wish there was a single turbo option for twin bank engines, but there isn't. Maybe with the forced induction update there will be, but who knows? I can only dream. For the time being. And, you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. There is no fast way to tune a turbo. It's just a lot of trial and error, playing with the sliders until you get something you like. There is no quick and easy way to do this. You just gotta sit here, and because the game is so slow with calculating, like, the amount of power you get from turbos, it takes fucking forever. Again, we don't need to make this rev like crazy. There weren't a lot of engines that could rev to 8,500 even in the early 2000s, and there's really no need to. When we've got a turbo, we can kind of set it up to be more stout. That's coming in 4.2 after the oh-so-important campaign. Turbo tuning is the one thing I have the least understanding of in automation, so feel free to educate me on that. Yeah, it's like I said, there's no secret to this. There's just you just play with sliders. There are some things I would tell you to generally do. Smaller compressor and turbine is generally better. I know a lot of people, they like to just max the AR ratio and go from there. I don't find that so useful on, like, certain applications. I guess here it might work because this is a performance application. But on something a little more toned down, I probably wouldn't max the AR ratio. Even now, this is gonna have quite a turbo lag issue. And again, that mostly comes from the fact that you're stuck with 2 turbos. Like, you can't, you can't tell this game, I want 1 turbo for my twin bank engine. No, you have to have 2. Go fuck yourself. Thank you. So... And even on the best of days, the results you're gonna get are not entirely accurate. The technology you're looking at here is pretty much 80s turbo technology. And even then, it's all over the place. Like, you can do some really cheesy shit with turbos in this game. Like, if you absolutely want to make a car that just runs on air and nothing else, use a turbo, because you can fucking get away with that in this game. It's actually crazy. I think we will keep this on...
At super_noodle, I wanted to say thank you for this. The insight you're giving me is a lot more helpful than you might realize, so I just wanna say I appreciate it. Also, feel free to educate me on the suspension/drivetrain as well, since they may need work.
I don't know if that one was stuck in processing, but, yeah, I hope, like, that's the goal of this, is I'm not here to just completely, like, take over and, hijack your design. I'm just trying to give some, some basic pointers so that you can either take your original idea and make it into something realistic, or refine your idea to a point where, it makes more sense or something like that. I think we'll just tune the cams here a little bit. But yeah, this engine's got quite a bit of turbo lag. A lot of that comes down, again, to being locked to 2 turbos and locked into this old turbo technology. But I mean, this is 255 horsepower from an engine this small is kind of bonkers. Like, I would probably actually go even further and tone this down even more, but, if this is supposed to be the, super fucking, crazy performance model, then, yeah, sure. Turbos in this game are kind of ridiculous. Like, the modern twin-turbo V6, they have almost no lag. It's crazy how good they have gotten it down. Yeah. Definitely feel free to tone it down. Well, again, the point of reference I'm going for is the R32 Golf, which was making, how much was it again? 237. So this is a 2.2 liter engine, and it's making more than that. It's just, again, I keep coming back to this turbo system, and it really is in a bit of a state. Like, this, they really need to overhaul the forced induction in this game. But they haven't, for whatever reason. It's gotta work on that campaign. Campaign is much more important, boys. That really burns me up, though, that all that focus on the campaign. Like, it's the amount of development it takes to make a game where you can build your own car from the ground up and see, like, results like this is pretty crazy. Like, this on its own is enough to be its own game. A car company tycoon on its own is enough to be its own game. They're basically developing 2 games at the same time, and it makes no fucking sense. Can we get away with a cast iron crank? We could get away with a cast iron crank. I mean, this is so small, we can, yeah, cast iron crank is just fine. So, fuck it, keep the price down, Okay, well, that's causes knocking because of the... we'll use forged pistons and forged conrods, but we can, we can use a cast iron crank, so fuck it. Why make it more complicated than it needs to be? Nice free-flowing exhaust, and yeah, so we've got an engine here that's a lot less powerful, but a lot more practical, probably a lot less expensive to run. Definitely since I've, leaned up the fuel mixture, that's gonna be helpful. It's probably gonna get ridiculous fucking fuel economy. 27 mpgs. Yeah, I wouldn't expect an engine like this to make 27 mpgs, but, we'll see. And so the top speed of this thing is clocking out at 156. I would probably lower the gearing down to, to probably about that. So this could have a 5-speed or a 6-speed. Again, when you're topping out at like 160 miles an hour, you don't need to give it a ton of overdrive, you guys see me give cars a ton of overdrive. That is, having my gear top speed set to much higher than my actual top speed. You guys see me do that all the time because I'm making little pieces of shit from like the 80s and 90s that can only reach like 120 on a good day downhill with a, with a headwind. But if you can reach this kind of speed, you don't need to set the gear ratio super long. And when you're running a smaller engine like this, it would probably make more sense. Now, it's kind of hard to back that up here because the fuel economy ratings you get when you throw a turbo in a car in this game are absolutely fucking ridiculous. Look at this. 43 mpgs. This gets... The highway fuel economy of this car, according to automation, is 44 mpg. Something's fucky, huh? Also, I would imagine something like this would probably have more power going to the front wheels. Probably something like a 60-40 setup. But other than that, that's pretty much right on. I guess they could do 50-50, but for some reason I'm thinking 60-40 would be a little more accurate in this case. 28.2, so yeah, the MPG on the left is like a combined or like a city MPG, which again, seems completely fucking wrong, but like I said, turbos are broken in this game. It's why I tend to avoid them when I can. Brakes. These front discs are not powerful enough. These ones are rear solid discs. You can make them vented discs. They're just better. It just works. TM. And let's just make these 3 pistons. Brakes are also completely fucking busted. Like, the only way to make powerful, like, decent brakes in this game is just add pistons all the livelong fucking day, 1-piston brakes can't stop shit in this game. And I've run a few tests. Like, I've made a car equivalent to... I've got something here that's kind of like a rough equivalent to a CRV. And I set the brakes up to be exact copies of the CRV's brakes, and it couldn't stop, like, in time. it couldn't stop nearly as well as the CRV did, so it's, yeah, the brakes are kind of scuffed. Again, so don't worry too much about them being realistic, just worry about them stopping the car properly. Generally, I like to do more powerful brakes in the front than in the back. That way, if you lock the brakes up, the fronts lock up first, and your back doesn't go spinning around. It matters a little less for something like this, which has traction control and ABS, so it's kind of an academic point a little bit, but that's how I generally set my my brakes up. Also, I don't think this would have any, like, active suspension. I think this would just be a fully passive, conventional suspension. I'm gonna give it my classic setup for the suspension here, which is base it off of the normal spring settings and give it the sport dampers. So 280, 260 respectively. And maybe tighten it up a little more because this is supposed to be a sport model. So I'll stiffen up the springs a little more and then stiffen up the dampers a little more. That's something, like, if you're taking this into Beam and driving it around, you just have to kind of trial and error check. But rule of thumb, just use the normal preset and the sport preset damper settings. So, alright, that's pretty much everything I have to say about this. Hopefully I have helped you out and given you some useful information, so you can continue to develop this car. It says brake pad type too low. People are saying the brake pad type is too what? Oh yeah, it is. You do have it set to comfort. I usually just set this like right in the middle. I guess you could, you know, go back and forth, but for something like this, you probably want it somewhere in the 60s and the 70s. Again, this is one of those more arbitrary sliders in the game, and it's a little open to interpretation, so... Oops, game is lagging my shit here. Tell you what, if you ever want to turn your computer into a space heater, I'm telling you, Automation, great game for that. You know, you have a cold bedroom or basement or, you know, whatever kind of cave you're living in. Automation, that's your game. Alright, let's save that and I will send it to you on Discord. From what I've learned from the Discord and the forums, 35 is like average for real-life brake pads, 50 is on the sporty side, and 20 is what comfort-oriented cars would have. That's just strange, because even then, 50 is underperforming. You would assume 50 would be, like, average, you know? And again, there's like, stuff in this game that just doesn't match up. Like, compression and air-fuel ratios in this game don't match up at all with real life. If you tried to make an engine in this game with, you know, the real-life specs, like, you had a sheet of just all the real-life specs, air-fuel ratio, compression, bore, stroke, this, that, etc., and you tried to make that engine in this game, it just wouldn't match at all. For instance, this game lets you run way, way leaner air-fuel ratios than you should be able to get away with. Also, it tends to favor lower compression ratios than real life. So yeah, there's a lot of things that just don't match up, and I don't know what they're basing this on, the idea that 35 is kind of average for regular cars, but that just seems weird to me, that the game's default setting, 50, right in the middle, is actually for more sporty cars. So, like I said, it's one of those more arbitrary sliders. So I guess you could make a case for like 35. That being a more sporty car, then even if 35 is like for an average car, then I would set it, you know, somewhere in like the 50s or 60s, because that is a performance model. So let me go ahead and upload this. Alright, hopefully that helps you out. Let's move on to the next one here. Now, you remember that one person that donated you to copy and make specs of his BMW? Yes. Yes, I do. Maybe it's taking into account the full
I'll
range
use my credit
of
card.
brake pad materials.
Random fact of the day. KFC is putting out what is basically a pre-built PC that uses the heat generated by the computer parts to heat up a chamber to keep food hot. TBH, it's a clever use of heat which is wasted energy.
I guess. I will reserve commenting on it until it is released and I can get a good idea of how practical it actually is. I might actually get cut short here too today because I promised my brother I would help him bleed his brakes, and I don't want it to be too dark and freezing cold outside when I do that. So I might only have time for a couple of cars, which is fine. I was afraid I would, I wouldn't have any cars for Friday. By the way, if you want to submit a car for Friday, I'm going to be doing this again Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's a Discord for supporters, subs, and patrons. ! Discord and chat. We'll spit a link out for that. Does your brother drive, though? I have passed on my 1996 Nissan Pathfinder to him, and he recently got done basically overhauling the whole rear suspension, replacing just about every bushing in the damn thing, because it was doing the weeble wobbles, because all the bushings were shot. BMWs have the most confusing car models, and they are just numbers. Well, there's like a logic to it, it's not just random numbers, like it's, like there's the 3 series, and then among the 3 series there's the 3-2, like there's, there's rhyme and reason to it. It's just I can never remember any specific models because they're not like named, they're just a bunch of numbers. Anywho, so let me see if I can look at Dela's here next. I'm gonna be honest, I have gotten some real Papegas from Dela before, so I'm interested to see what this is. Tried to make a version of the 1970 Triumph Stag that actually gotten re-engineered to accept the Rover V8 as standard, pushing the release date forward 2 years, a prospect that got vetoed IRL because the Stag was so close to completion in 1970 and the process was deemed extensive. Right, so again, I don't really do like replicas in this game, but I can give you some general pointers on, like, I guess on what a British sports car from this era would have, although I'm not too well versed in those either, so I'll take a look at it all the same. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to contribute to this, though. Secondary numbers are not consistent throughout the model range. Well, then I don't fucking know. It's BMW. They're all huffing paint. Whatever. Now, this is more of a like an American body style here. Also, we're missing a bumper. We're missing a lot of trim on this, and these are some. Okay. We got a few things to change here. Matter of fact, I don't think Stags were using unibodies at this point. I think they were still just using ladder frames. Let's have a look. This body might be the wrong size. Well, okay, so this is actually the right wheelbase, 2.5 meter wheelbase, but I wouldn't use this body. This, it looks a little too boxy for a Triumph Stag. I would use something a little more rounded off if I could find it. Don't be afraid, in general, to use bodies that are dated earlier in this game. Is the converter deleting trim parts? It said it didn't. The converter didn't say it couldn't import trim parts this time, so I don't think that's the case. So let's slim this down to coupes and convertibles. And ones with the front engine. So, in general, like I said, don't be afraid to... I'm not seeing the body he's using here, actually, when I do that. What is it considered? A sedan? Huh. That's not considered a coupe. That's considered... Okay. Right. So, as I was saying before, don't be afraid to use a body that's dated way before the year of the car you're making, because this game tends to date the bodies very early for people who want to make cars that are supposed to be, like, cutting edge and ahead of their time. And this 1970 body is really more like mid-70s, like peak malaise, boxiness kind of thing. I don't know if there is a good alternative to this body, though. That's the million-dollar question here. And I don't know if they have something that would make sense for something like a Triumph Stag, like a very low but sleek and rounded kind of body, without going too far back. I might have to go, like, way back into the 60s for something like this. Like, we got a real small 2.3 liter wheelbase. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a good body for this. And that's another thing is, you know, sometimes you just have to work with what you got in this game. Alright, well, we can try and round it out with certain design features. But I don't think the Stag was a unibody. I will have to look that up, though. How do you feel about the Tesla facelift where they chopped off the top of the steering wheel? The words I would use to describe that could probably get me banned from Twitch. Put it that way. Actually, no, I'm just gonna say it. Retarded. How's that sound? I mean, Teslas really are just cars for YouTubers, tech bloggers, and yuppies at this point. They could, they are apples on wheels. Like, they could do whatever the fuck they want with them, and their fan base would just eat it up, you know? They're not at all practical to most people, they never will be, and they don't need to be. Alright, we're gonna give this a ladder frame, because that's probably what it would have. It wouldn't have a leaf spring suspension up front. It would probably... See, this is the thing. I don't know the Triumph Stag's suspension off the top of my head. It'd probably be wishbones up front and a solid beam in the rear. Although it could have independent rear suspension. I don't know. These are things I just don't know off the top of my head. But I think it's wishbones up front and a solid beam. The wiki says semi-trailing rears? I didn't see... Yeah, fully independent. Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I'm gonna have to... It's jacked up my my ride height here because I had a leaf springs up front for a moment there. Now was this one of these plastic like fiberglass? I think these were steel. But I know there were a lot of British sports cars, especially like TVRs and stuff, where had fiberglass bodies. That wheel is so dumb. There's a reason cars have round wheels, because they have a lot of turns lock to lock, so hacking off the top is a bitch in every driving situation. Yeah, no, it's definitely fucking stupid. Didn't you used to build keyboards? Yeah, I've kind of put that on hold for a while, but I actually might be putting one together for a friend in the near future. So, I don't know if it's something I'll stream or not, but... The weird Tesla wheel is illegal in the UK version. The UK version will have a normal wheel. Yeah, there's... That makes sense. That wheel shouldn't be legal. Like, that's fucking stupid. They're not F1 cars. What'd you use for lube? I think it was just a, I've got a can of it here. Silicon. A silicon Teflon, spray on lube, you know. No, it's not that kind of lube. If you guys use, silicon lube for what I know you fucking children are thinking of, you're gonna end up with a real big mess. Anywho, yeah, so this is the kind of setup it would probably have, like, you know, like a ladder frame, just a standard ladder frame with panels on top. Right, so, oh. Dela, I've talked about this. Come on. The Rover V8s didn't have mechanical fuel injection on them, did they? Like, I know there were some, like, American V8s. It was a really fancy option. You could get mechanical fuel injection, but I don't think that was ever really a thing for the Rover V8, right? Especially from this era. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Stag isn't a Rover V8 engine. Yes, but the idea is they stuck a Rover V8 engine into the Stag. Also, it wouldn't be overhead cam like it is here. It would be overhead valve. Right? Best meme. They had a V8 already made and they just didn't use it. Yeah, it's... I don't know, dude. The British automotive industry was some shit. It was some shit, dude. The 3.5 liter. That's the real common one, I think. So that one we're looking at... Well, actually, let's... So what I like to do is when you got an engine family like this, you can set the max bore and stroke in the family thing here. And so that would be 94 millimeter bore, 90 mil stroke. And then this would be push rods. All aluminum. Then the version we have here is the 3.5. Although, again, it's... I don't know when they re-engineered the blocks for this particularly. Because I don't want it to be too oversized, you know? Like, this is not how... Automotive engineers just don't keep boring and stroking out the same block. They'll usually re-engineer the block a bit when they want to make it bigger. So... This is probably fine, though. But yeah, this is something they originally bought from Buick because, England in charge of making engines, lol. So the bore and stroke on this version of the engine, the 3.5, was 88.9 and 71.12, which, yeah, we're going to have to decrease the family, the max stroke, otherwise we can't set the slider down far enough. Thank you, based automation. We'll just set that to 80 for now, like, whatever. We're shooting for 71.12. Wow, that's a very specific. They must have done it. Yeah, they did it in inches. That's why. All right, so All Rover V8s are overhead valve push rods with 2 valves per cylinder. Yes. 2 HS6 type SU carburetors. So what are those, like single barrel, double barrel? They look like single barrels. 2 HS, huh. That looks a lot like the Eco carb from this game. Just started to watch the stream. Is this a marvel of bonger engineering? Yes. Yes, it is. The bongers have done it again. That cam profile is way too aggressive. Have I... Are you... What's the game doing? There we go. It took a while to update. Finally got it. Is it... Why is it taking so long? What about this game? Why is it gotta be like this? Okay, now it's finally caught up, I think. Right. So, we've got some over-revving issues. That's fine. We'll sort that. What did the intakes on these fuckers... Whoa. They actually did look kind of like that. As bizarre as that fucking looks, this is pretty much the system they were using. Originally with the carburetors. That is bizarre. That maxes the power out at 100, though, in automation. I might have to switch to regular single carburetors. That's fucked right there. Right. So, got my bore and stroke set. Probably just all cast for now. Turn this off so it stops yelling at me. Knocking a bit. It's fine. Nobody cares. We'll just take the compression and go like this. Max RPM, we're looking at about 5,200. So we can give this a few quality points. So again, this is an American engine. All right, we knew how to make overhead valve engines that revved, because you know we actually know how to make engines. England, lol. Right. Very lazy cam profile on this. Remember, this is the early 70s. So, at first, this was making 158 horsepower at 5,200 RPM and 210 pound-feet at 2,600 RPM. So, I don't think these carburetors are gonna do that for us. Yeah, definitely not. We're gonna have to switch to just regular single barrels, and that's a lot more like it right there. That is a whole lot more like it. Yeah, the eco carbs in this game kinda... What's the word I'm looking for? Blow ass. They blow serious ass. That's the description I was looking for. Can we... Hello? I'm scrolling here. Can you adjust the exhaust size, please? Thank you. Oh, yeah, there we go. Needed that exhaust velocity. Oh, yes. That is, that's pretty close right there. We're gonna use short casts, although it's probably more like, cast logs on this thing, honestly. Probably just a single muffler. Nothing fancy. Every carb in this game blows ass unless it's DCOE. Yeah, again, This is one of those things where they kind of had to be arbitrary. Like, the actual carburetor design used on this engine is closer to what you see here with the single-barrel Ecos, but obviously it was able to put out a lot more than a maximum of 100 horsepower because it was putting out 150. So, yeah. We'll just stick generic single barrel carbs on the top there. Just increase the power a little more, I think. A little more compression. Just tweak it and tune it a little bit here. And that's good. I think that's good right there. So that's about on par with what the Rover V8 was making in the early 70s. Again, I'm not going to be exact here. I'm not going to sit here and get it perfect, but that should be a pretty good general idea right there. And it probably wasn't... Well, yeah, I guess they were using dual exhausts. Whatever. All right, so that should be good. That should be our engine sorted. Classic OHV, basic OHV. Ooh, options. We're British. We don't do the classic American thing. We don't like Americans. We're somehow better because we're British. TM. Right. Let me just get my suspension sorted here so I don't have to look at this being like 8 feet in the air the whole time. So this is styled like some kind of early 80s type. Like this is not correct. Is what I'm saying basically. It's not really correct at all. So let's try and get this looking a little more like a Triumph Stag. Although, again, we're a bit limited by this body. So you had a very like mid to late 70s to early 80s style going on there with the super blocky grille and everything. The Triumph Stag is a little more rounded. I don't know how much of that I can accomplish with this body in particular, because this body is just very square shaped. So it's going to be a very rectangular Triumph Stag, I guess. Which we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Also, these got to go because these are way too small. Actually, I'm just gonna we're just gonna do a fresh start here. So let's get a nice big grill for the air suck so this can overheat. You know, like every British car does. I want kind of more of a generic, like, oval shape or maybe even rectangle shape. I could always do something like this and put the slats in myself. I want something with slats. That's the idea. Chrome, because this is the 70s when it was still socially acceptable to have chrome. You know. So we'll do something like that. Let me see if I can add some slats. We gotta have some slats, dude. Use this bad boy. Whoa, maybe not. All right, we can size that down. Actually, it's no problem. Make it stick out a little less. Stick out a little more, less. please. There's got to be a version of this that looks better. I know there is. I just don't know where. I don't know if I'm going to bother looking it up right now. Oh, face has been cut in half. Rest in peace. This is the one I'm looking for. Looks exactly the same in the preview, but it's actually just, it works a lot better. Automation, ladies and gentlemen. We're just gonna do something like that. I don't know why the grill on this is so shiny. I wish it wasn't. Wish it was a little darker, you know? I don't know. What are you gonna do? You know, it's automation. So now we'll stick some nice round headlights in there. Isn't Elon like the son of some like South African like emerald mine barons or something like that? Like he was very much born into riches, if I recall correctly. Which is kind of funny that he has this fucking, like, entrepreneurial image where, you know, I made my money from having just a giant fucking galaxy brain, when he was just, like most rich people, was just kind of born into being hyper rich, you know? See, I don't like resizing these sealed beam lamps, because there are standard sizes for these, and the game, for the most part, sticks to them. So I try not to resize them when I can avoid that. But they're looking extremely fucking big in this case, so I might just do it just for aesthetics. Yeah, I'm gonna just do that for aesthetics, because I don't want it to look like fucking shit, dude. Oh shit, what did I do there? Undo. This would be a very aggressive British sports car, but, you know, whatever. I guess I could make something like this work, maybe. I think I'll use 3D mode for this, though. I can do this. I can kind of give it the appearance that it wraps around. I really wish I could get rid of this, like, splitter down here, but, you know, you can't with this body. That's just not allowed. It's not an option. You're not allowed to customize your custom car in automation, after all. So, you know, sometimes you have to make compromises, and this is one of those cases. Styling being wrong and not having a good body selection. What other things have you pointed out since I'm late to the stream? I kind of rebuilt your whole engine. You had it overhead cam and with mechanical fuel injection when it was overhead valve, and had, it had carburetors. Like, maybe super duper premium models would have mechanical fuel injection, but for the most part, no, it would be carbureted. Why is this? If you guys have ever heard me say, why is this like this, in this game, you must be pretty familiar with hearing me say that, because it's a question I ask a lot. Why is this like this? Why don't they have a version of this trim piece that's just, like, a regular block. Kind of, almost like that, but not quite. They almost got it right here. I just want a regular rubber block to, like, stick on the ends of these things here. I guess I could use the primitive shapes that they have for, like, interior styling. A lot of times it's what you end up doing in this game is making do with what you got. Like, yeah, whatever, I'll use the stuff that's not really designed for what I'm doing here because that's the only option I have. Trying to make these look good, but it's kind of hard. Whoops. Let's undo that. Can we... Yes. Maybe I shouldn't be using this bumper after all. Actually, let's use this version. That way I can add my own bump stops to it. Then go to the 3D section here and find a primitive shape that's kind of what you're looking for. This might work. Let's try that. Rotate. It'll scale it down. Rotate. And this is just kind of what you gotta do to make stuff work in this game. Then I'll set these to rubberized black there. And yeah, they kind of look ugly. I mean, they're always going to look ugly. It wasn't a popular design feature of the 70s. It was a necessitated by law feature of the 1970s. These bumpers on the bumper. Kind of like cat converters when you think about it. Sort of a necessary evil type thing. So I'm not going to adjust that too much because I will actually fucking go insane doing that. Let's give this more appropriate wheels, too. I always click wheels thinking that's where you change the wheels, but it's not actually in wheels, it's in trim where you change the wheels. Big think. Need something more classic here. I'm looking at a picture on my other monitor, and I know there's a type of rim in here that looks exactly like that. Where is it? Kinda like that. This one. This is it. And then it has like black colored. Yes. I'm actually gonna use... Whoops. Whoops. Can we... I'm gonna use my, There we go. Oh, yeah. Nice. Wasn't it supposed to hold the bumpers? It was bump protection. Like, this was so that when you got into a slow, like, 5-mile-an-hour fender bender, it wouldn't damage your car. And I guess it was nice from that perspective, but it was also not nice from the perspective of they are butt-fucking ugly, you know? At least the early ones were, where they didn't really have them integrated into the design, and they kind of just, you know, pasted them on there. And that's kind of the vibe I got going here. Also, Dayla, please don't color your car default red. I hate default red. Make it a nice citric orange here. Default red, it rubs me up the wrong way, and we put it that way. This music be vibing. Yeah, this is, Liquefy, the album Illusionary Reality. Super obscure, one-man band. It's got like 20 followers on Twitter. Check it out. It's very underrated. Alright, so already this is starting to look a little bit more like a British sports car, even if it is extremely fucking boxy. There isn't a whole lot I can do about that, though. Is there a back-end shot of one of these bad boys so I can get... style up the back a bit? Come on, you piece of shit. Oh, I have to be on this side of the car to move it like that. I see. That makes perfect sense. When you think about it. Not really, but, you know. Makes perfect sense. Just stick that there for now. Got me into Junkie XL, so thank you for that. Yeah, it's pretty vibin' music, Junkie XL. Probably make the back end of this a little shorter. Looking for a good back end shot of the Triumph Stag here. This one's got a watermark on it, but it'll have to do. Wow. Absolutely, like, no customization allowed on this body either. That's great. God bless this game, dude. Can we, can I place this back on the body, or will it not let me do that? Really? What if I do this? I just want to get it to the back of the car. Please. Game? Alright, I guess I gotta do everything the fucking hard way. Turn that up, please. There we go. They could make this easier, couldn't they? Right. Now, how do I rotate this exactly 180 degrees without fucking it up? Because now, like, look, there's nowhere... Dude, I can't... Oh, that's gonna bother me. That's gonna fucking... I can't reset the road. Dude! I'm never gonna get it perfect with it. Alright, I just gotta make the fucking whole bumper again. I wanted to use the front one as, like, a template so I could just use this one, you know, copy and paste and do it easy, but no. There's no easy allowed in this game. Everything has to be fucking complicated. So here I am, making the same exact fucking thing again. I can't just copy and paste it because there's no way to just spin something 180 fucking degrees for some reason. This game, man, this game. It gets on my nerves a little. I don't know if you guys could tell. Like, all I want to do is take this, copy it, drag it, paste it. Like, not rocket science, right? I'm not asking for a whole lot here, am I? I feel like I'm not. Maybe I'm just an entitled gamer, dude. Who knows? Alright, I don't want to spend too much time making the bump stops on this one again, but you get the idea of what you're going for. Just take a fucking basic shape here, and you go into 3D mode, and it just, all of this, it just works, you know, type thing. These two things up here, no fucking idea what they do. I've clicked them a bunch, and I still don't know what the fuck they do. They do something, I'm sure. No idea. Absolutely no idea. Type 90 on green, rotate. Oh, so these do work. I thought they were supposed to show how much the thing had already been, like, if I were to rotate this to 15 degrees on the y-axis, it would say 15 here. I thought these were just broken. Which, honestly, is that an unreasonable thing to think about this game? Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on these. This is already driving me a bit insane. That's what automation does, after all. Oh, these are misaligned now because it did something I didn't want it to. Very cool. That'll do. There we go. Good enough out of 10. Actually, we're going to move this whole thing down a little bit. It's a little too high up. Here we go. Right. I'm just going to do something real simple back here. So, like, let's do this. I'm trying to do, like, they kind of got, like, a frame on the original Stag back here that the taillights go into. It's kind of what I'm doing here. So I don't want to indent it too much. I kind of just want to have that chrome strip around the back there. And we'll stick some taillights in there. Just gotta decide on which ones I want back here. These are extremely boring, but they will do the job just fine. There we go. And then some exhaust tips. Alright, there we go. I'm not going to put too much more detail into it, but hopefully that's a little more in the right direction for, like, a British sports car type deal. Very boxy and more like mid-70s, you know, bordering on 80s. But hopefully that'll do the trick a little better. We're going to take this and move that down a bit. I don't think it needs quite that much overdrive. I don't know what kind of gearboxes they put in these. Honestly, they probably put whatever the fuck they felt like. Three-speed Borg Warner automatic, 4-speed manual. So we'll do a 4-speed manual. That sounds about right. Don't know how far apart I want to space them, but that should do. And, you know, this is pre-fuel crisis. We don't really need to worry about having a ton of overdrive. We can just kind of gear it right up to the top speed there. It's got a decent top speed anyway, so... Doop boop doop boop 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 boop. We'll give it radials. Fuck it. This is a sports car, after all. Nice big thin wheels. Yeah, brakes up front. Probably would have drums in the back. I don't know. It's having a hard time with those drums. But then again, remember, this is the early 70s. It's not a time renowned for breaking performance, to say the least. Three-speed manual plus overdrive. Whoa! I'm just gonna stick a 4-speed in it. Back seats, get the fuck out of here. Auto, no, this would be like a manual soft top. Absolutely. And this definitely wouldn't have an 8-track in it. I mean, the problem is, this is like a coupe body, whereas the Stag was a roadster. So, you know, the Stag was just a single, like, the Stag, the roof would end, like, here, instead of all the way back here. So, that's a problem. That's, again, a problem with this body and a lack of available bodies for this game. I don't think this would have power steering, either. I think this would just... Because this is so... I mean, it's supposed to be so small and light that it wouldn't need it. This is 2,500 pounds, but again, I think that comes back to the body, to a degree. But hopefully that's a little more in the right direction. Again, you know, if you're making one of these things and you don't know, you're completely lost on what to do, just look it up. Just look up the Rover V8 on Wikipedia, and it'll say it's overhead valves. It has, like, most, you know, 99% of the info I got to put this together was right off of Wikipedia. You know, it had overhead valves, it had, you know, twin carburetors. I didn't know, they said the model of the carburetor. I didn't know what it was, so I just Googled it, you know. Just do a little research and look up the parts that, you know, these used, and that'll get you going in the right direction. You know? And yeah, you'll kind of be copying, but then when you start to learn the kind of parts that these vehicles used, and you get an idea of what was common for the time, then you can make a more educated decision on, okay, this is what I'm going to do differently, you know? So I will send you that. That was the... Victoria. I got 2 of them in here. Hold on, which one was it? The U. Alright, I'll do one more. And then I gotta go help my brother bleed his brakes. Think I'll do Pepperoni John, since he's almost certainly here. Right. Let's see what he has to say. So, this is 1969 muscle car with a beefy V8 and cross-ply tires. God bless. Steel, monocoque, galvanized, longitudinal, double wishbone. Alright, so right off the bat, we got some problems. Alright, I'm gonna fix those problems for you, though. Is this album on YouTube? Yes, that is how I'm listening to it. Matter of fact, I will... There you go. Oh yes, very, very freedom. This is gonna conform to the body, right? It's not gonna stay rectangular like this. It's gonna fix itself eventually, right? Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, this is a little over the top. I'm gonna be honest. Did you actually make white wall tires with trim pieces? You fucking animal. You absolute fucking animal. FPS, ouch, yes. Can we take a moment to thank Automation for making this tanked FPS possible? Right. This is a little bit over the top, if I'm going to be honest. Like this looks like a Grand Theft Auto car. Hide the body. The interior is made of bumper bars. Well, again, you went for it. I don't usually bother with interiors because they're a pain in the fucking ass, and I'm not gonna sit there and manually position everything. Right. So we've got. Oh boy, we gotta work on this a bit. Kill Rob really needs to hire people to help him develop this game. Clearly, him working on it alone is taking its toll. Yeah, I mean, there are other developers, but yeah, this is a very ambitious game. It needs a pretty big dev team, I think. Anyway, Unibody? No, dude. Ladder frame. This is America. All right. Big car, big ass ladder frame, big body on top of ladder frame. That's more like it. All right. Let's have a look at this engine. 7-liter V8. Of course it's a 7-liter V8, dude. I can see you just maxed out the stroke there. That is definitely wrong. Let's make this a little more like an actual big block. Let's copy a Chevy big block, shall we? Double 4-barrel carburetors, too, I'm seeing on here. That is absolutely fucking ridiculous. So let's put a Chevrolet big block in this thing, all right? Let's do one of the real early ones too. This would probably Mark II, Mark III. Volumetric, blah, 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 blah. Just tell me... Okay, so this would be like a Mark IV, so this would be like a 402 or something like that. A 6.5 liter. We're looking at 104 millimeter bore and 95 millimeter stroke. So that's where you first got it wrong here, is these big block engines, these big V8s, all of these V8s really are... They're massively over square. So big bore, small stroke is what you want to go for. I'm not too sure on the engine. Yeah, well, it's... Yeah, we'll just fix this. So yeah, you want bigger bore than stroke generally. Generally much bigger bore than stroke if you're making one of these old American V8s. There we go. So that is a 6.5 liter now. Push rod, overhead valve. That's about right. We might need forgings in this. We might not, depending on how much power this thing is putting out. We're definitely not going to have 2 4-barrel carburetors. It's just going to be one. I don't know of any passenger car that had 2 4-barrel carburetors on it that wasn't like super high end. Like I don't think that was a thing for even American like muscle cars. Maybe some of the real like fucking crazy ones had 2 4 barrels, but one, I think they almost all of them just had one. So we're knocking a bit here, so we're gonna have to tune things. Oh god, you had it running on air. That's not. No. Big American V8 like gas. not air. Big American V8 suck gas. Okay, so we're aiming for something, the real fucking big ones we're making 350. I don't know if I'm gonna go quite that high, but we'll see. We'll just tune this thing and we'll see. Oh, look at that, big torques. Holy fuck, this is extremely loud. Regular leaded. God fucking bless, dude. I don't know if these big blocks used regular or super, actually. I don't know that off the top of my head. The 350 horsepower ones probably did use super. Also, they could rev more than this. This is America. We were... I mean, everyone's like, oh, America just throws displacement at the prop. But, like, the engineering behind some of these engines was genuinely impressive. Making these massive fucking engines spin at, like, 5,600 RPMs is quite the feat. And there wasn't really, anyone else who could do stuff like that without, you know, using just full race parts, you know? Yeah, most high-performance engines use super. Okay, so we'll use super. This will be a high-performance one because, you know, memes. That makes sense. Open up our exhaust a bit here. So we're shooting... I don't have super detailed specs here, but we're shooting for about 350 horsepower and about 400-ish pound-feet of torque. So we're pretty close. Just need to increase the power a little more. Increase the compression, which I can do because I'm running super leaded gasoline. God bless, kill all the polar bears, you know? Advance the timing a little bit. A little more aggressive on the cams here, I think. I think that's my album ending there. What do I put on then? Hold on, looking for some new music here. Where is it? Music, Dude, Weed, Stoner Rock. That's the name of the playlist. Music, Dude, Weed, Stoner Rock. There we go. Alright. So we're still shooting for 350. See if I can... Want to open this up a little more, maybe? I think the carb's actually choking. Yeah, the carb's choking us, which is, Maybe if we use, like, double 2 barrels or something. Triple 2 barrels? I'm pretty sure there were some companies that did use triple 2 barrels. But I'm thinking these were mostly 4 barrels. Dual carb. Did anyone use dual 4 barrels though? Because as far as I know, most of the time they just used a single 4 barrel. I can't think of off the top of my head any examples of dual 4 barrel carburetors. Will automation get diesel this decade? Fat fucking chance, dude. GM used 3 2 barrels until the Quadrajet came out. Chrysler used the 8-pack 2x4. Well, alright. Let's do it the GM way. 3 2-barrel carburetors. God fucking bless. Ugh, burn all the gas. Freedom. Oh. Oh, look at it go. I can kill the environment so quickly. Freedom. Jack that up till we reach our max compression. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. There we go. Beautiful. Freedom. Alright, this is just fucking ridiculous. Okay? I've got no other words for this other than absolutely off the walls fucking bonkers, okay? My number one recommendation here would be you've got the dial turned up to 11 here. Turn it a little bit down. Let's go back to like a 9 or an 8 maybe. I'm just gonna get rid of these because they're bothering me, and I know as soon as you export this into like beam, it's gonna fucking break everything. Wheels. I don't think we're gonna have 14 inches. It's still gonna have like pretty sizable wheels. Car has issues with wheel spin. Oh, I imagine it does. And I imagine it will continue to. Can't get away with very big tires on this, but you know, that's cross plies for you. I don't want to spend all this time restyling it completely, but like the cowl line on this is too high. It would be a little lower and sleeker looking. Also, it's hard to do this because I'm trying to like see where the morph points are, and it's in red and the body's in red. And can I move this down, or does it? No, it's just locked where it is. That's interesting. I can't move this hood line down at all. That's very good. Thank you, game. I'm gonna move it back a little bit, I think. These headlights are not kosher. All headlights were highly regulated at this time. There were only really one type of headlight you could use on American cars at this time. It was you had to use round sealed beam headlights of a certain diameter. I don't know off the top of my head, but look it up. You could not use anything else. You could put them in housings and stuff to kind of make them look more square and all that, but you had to use round sealed beam headlights by law. Oh, fuck. Oh, jeez. I love this game sometimes. Why is it doing this? Dude. Right, your car's been in a major accident. Alright, there we go. It finally figured it out. You had to give it a minute. Holy guac, dude. Alright, so I'm gonna tone this down a little bit. I'm gonna make these slats, like, black, right? I'm gonna move this bumper up, because it would definitely be up higher, like, right here, maybe. Fuck. So, don't necessarily need to use this headlight in particular, but it's got to be. God, those look massive. I think this game has some scaling issues too, but yeah, it was regulated. There was only a certain size of headlight you could use. I think these are actually correct. And, you know, there are little tricks that designers use to kind of disguise this, but they all had the same headlights. They all had to use the same headlights. So I'm not really going to spend too much time trying to disguise that, but yeah, unfortunately, if you want it to be accurate, you're constrained by that. Gotta give it a minute. Yeah, it's, game is having a hard time, so to speak. This body sucks, too, by the way. I don't know if you could tell. It's not the best. I mean, there wouldn't even really be a trim line running down the side here. Like, there wouldn't be vents like again, there's just too much stuff on this. There doesn't need to be this much stuff. Like, this two-tone body, it would probably just all be one color, you know? Here, I'm just gonna paint it all one color for now. I'll use my Cinnabar, since this is the closest to, what you have. But, like, I'm looking at pictures of Chevelles right now, and they didn't have anything ridiculous like this. Like, this is the two-tone and the brown and the... No. I don't know what that's even... maybe for these, we could kind of make it like a faux pinstripe by coloring them black in the middle. If we do, like, this. For some reason, it's not letting me click on them. It's being very particular, this game. I know, it's crazy. Automation being very particular and touchy, that's like, you never see that. And these wouldn't be chrome, they'd be black. Like, yeah, there's chrome, you know, there's gonna be like chrome trim and stuff on this, but it's not gonna be like this. Like, this looks like a parody car, you know? I don't think they would quite have the huge taillights like this. I think they would just be like little round things, or they wouldn't be like covering the entire bumper. Like, let's can I get rid of these? Can I click on these bottom ones? Am I allowed? Am I allowed to select the bottom taillights, game? Am I permitted? Holy fucking shit, dude. I hate this fucking game sometimes. All I want to do... delete. There we go. Okay, so I can see you framed them with these things here. Let's try doing this, and then let's try doing that. And then let's just put these in front so that the thing doesn't get in the way. Again, these are probably still a little on the big side for taillights of this era. Like, these would probably also be red. Maybe a little bit smaller. Are these cardinal orientation? Okay. They're just not cooperating with me quite as much as I want them to. And even this amount of chrome is kind of bonkers. Like, I don't think we need quite so much. Can I select the dude? This game, man, I just want to click the thing here. I'm not allowed. I just want to click the license plate so I can move it, you know? Kind of thing people want to do sometimes. Can we... Alright, you know what? I'm not gonna fret over it. I'm not gonna tear my hair out over this. And these... What? These are not... These are not... These faux exhaust tips, that's, That's like 2000s. That's not 70s or 60s. What on earth are these? Get out of here. This is what you'd get. Just simple double pipes, chromed. You know, something like this. Yeah, again, I'm not going to fret too much over it. It's just, like I said, you got everything turned up to 11 here. Just, you know, just chill it out a little bit. Needs a spoiler so bad. It's not getting a spoiler. How would it get a spoiler, dude? The fuck you talking about? You high? Spoiler. The fuck out of here. Arrow. This kid puts arrow on his muscle cars, dude. Cringe. But yeah, hopefully that'll get you going a little more in the right direction. Ah, 4 on the floor manual. Also, no, I wouldn't be geared that high. These things are streetlight to streetlight racers. They're not geared up that high. Typically. Now, this one... I mean, this one's one of the super high-end ones, so we'll gear it all the way out to its top speed of, like, 170, which is, frankly, fucking ridiculous, but God fucking bless at the same time, you know? Also, we can't put a limited slip differential on it, because even though it probably would have a limited slip differential, that is strictly forbidden. You know... According to Automation, cars in 1969 didn't have limited slip differentials. Big Diff doesn't want you to know that. They don't want you to know about the pause attractions. They didn't exist. They weren't real. Brakes, they suck, but you know what? It's 1969. They're gonna suck. So I made them a little better there, I guess, but they suck. But that's perfectly historically accurate if they suck. Like, expect it. Wouldn't have any brake airflow. Those brakes would be on their own there. Also, what's this? Bucket seats? I think you mean bench seats. Oh, yes. Oh, well, that actually... What? The moment you put a bench seat up front, muscle goes from, like, 88 to 30. God bless the fucking... Oh, man, this game, dude. Premium bench seats in there. More weight. Oh, yes, 3,700 pounds. It's not heavy enough. Advanced 6... Safety. Come on, dude. It's the 60s. What do you mean, safety? I'll be safe when I'm dead. Wishy-washy suspension? Absolutely. Probably be a bit higher off the ground. Oh, yeah. I don't know if there's a way to make these strips around here chrome. That would probably be fairly accurate, actually. Although, probably can't do it because that would... Oh, you can only color the entire bottom half of the thing chrome. God fucking bless. But, you know, chrome on this thing would be like... There'd be like a strip lining around this wheel arch. That's chrome. Maybe a line going around the bottom. You know, there's chrome on this, but it's not like you take the car outside and everyone's blinded by, you know, chrome. IDK muscle cars often had buckets, although they were still flat. Yeah, I know it was a thing. I'm kind of memeing. Also, you quite obviously have a bench seat in the back there, and you didn't have that in the car for some reason. But yeah, you were taking some like some 50s design philosophy of throwing everything in the kitchen sink at it. And you know, covering it in head to toe from chrome and applying it to the 70s, which wasn't entirely true. So yeah, hopefully again this will get you going in the right direction. This would probably be different. This would probably be like up here, but I'll leave that up to you. Again, it's it's my number one recommendation to everyone is, as always, look up real cars from this era. You know, take a car that you want to get, take like a main inspiration, something like maybe a Chevelle SS or something like that, and go from that. Or take from multiple cars. You know, just look at what cars of the era were doing.
I'll use my credit card.
What kind of common...
Wagwan G.
Wagwan G. Okay. Yes, I agree. Sure. Trucker Charlie, thank you for the 3 months. But yeah, just look at what cars were doing, you know, what designers were doing in the era, and just emulate that, you know? And then once you start to catch on to the common cues and things like that, then start, you know, experimenting more. But if you don't have that basis of, you know, understanding what cars from that era looked like, then you're kind of just, you know, making blind shots in the dark, and the odds are your car isn't going to end up looking very realistic or even just very good to begin with. Alright, that's it for tonight. I have 2 cars I didn't get to. One of them specifically requested to be on Friday. But if there's anyone else who wants a car looked at, if you're a sub or a patron, !Discord in chat. That'll bring you to the secret Discord where you can submit one of these cars for me to look at on Friday. Of course, it won't just be me. It'll be me and T-Bird. And that is, again, Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for watching and, of course, all the support, whether it be monetary or just, like I said, showing up to see this. Anyway, I've got to go. I got to go help my brother bleed his brakes, and I will see you guys again on Friday.